Like the words from your mouth, they're in a script. Ever get an itch to leave the place you're staying? Ever hear a voice yelling from within? Go, run, go, fight. Promise you it won't feel right. Don't fight, no.
Well, we're live on this Thursday morning, and Stu as our new DJ is really taking it to a new level today.
World's worst choice of song. The only thing that rivals my music choice is some of the music that the PBA had playing last night in the background.
Yeah, well,
some of that was was a little interesting, to say the least.
There were a few great moments last night, I thought, and
yeah.
I guess if you haven't seen the shows yet, you may not want to tune into this one because we're going to talk about the last two shows, number 5 and number 6, where Prather bowled Gigi Mason and Kyle Troop bowled Pete, and then each of them took on their chance to become the king or queen of bowling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where we start unpacking this, really. We had more proof that Prather is the man right now. I think that Pete, at the end of the night, maybe went a little overboard when he says, "I don't care about Belmonte, you're the man to beat." Well,
yeah, let's not be crazy. But
I mean,
it's cool that there's somebody that you can put in the conversation.
It's cool that Prather's in the conversation with best one-handed bowler.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it's a little tough to put him ahead of Simo, who honestly is a decent distance behind Belmo as well. I was actually doing a list, laughing last night with a guy, and I said 1 Belmo, 2 blank, 3 blank, 4 blank, 5 Simonson. But yeah, it was. I found the shows to be quite entertaining. I kind of enjoyed the format with the the contender match, and I did think that Rash especially played the role quite well of looking over and being smug.
That's high praise from you.
Yeah,
you have some ability of your own.
Yeah, I think Rash did a pretty good job. I mean, in the first show that he was the king, he called his number. He said he wanted to bowl Clara, and then he beat the shit out of her.
Got exactly his wish. So,
but yeah, that was pretty impressive. And then I guess Rash against Prather turned out to be the tale of the 7-10s. Sean having his 7-10 in the middle of the game, and Prather having his 7-10 after he'd already shut Sean out. So yeah, me and Kris have got a couple of highlights of the night that we found quite entertaining. I'll start with this one. It's from Prather's match with Gigi, who I thought acquitted herself really well. Thought she brought a pretty good energy to it, and I also thought she threw really good shots for the majority of the game. So Prather has just opened here in the 8th frame, I believe it is. So Gigi actually has a chance to throw a double to to put Kris under the gun, and she was really good on this right lane. So she threw a really nice shot here. And I'm going to put the sound on because I quite enjoyed her commentary on the shot. Let me just look at those bling, though. Do you see the shoes, Kris?
Oh, yeah. No, there was no missing those shoes.
Yeah. We got that coming. Man, these people who put YouTube ads on, I mean, how dare they?
That is pretty absurd at the moment.
So here we go. I'll turn it up.
It has to be close.
Lane of 10. Everything but go down for Gigi. Man, tough break.
You over here about to floss?
She says, I was just about to floss, right? And I thought, is that what she said? Now watch her reaction. It's great.
Yeah, this one here.
And then there's 9.5.
Oh, no, that's not. So that was one of my fun moments of the night. I enjoyed that. I thought that was fun. I would have liked to see them come back and floss it off at Prather. It might have put a bit of pressure on herself, needing to strike in their 10th, but
maybe
ass is the norm. It's nice to see that Kris isn't prejudiced against just the guys. He went up and he shut the door on Gigi, just as he's been doing to pretty much everybody else. Pretty nice in the 9th and 10th, I think, for that match.
Yeah, he threw some pretty poor shots there in the middle, and he got away with a few on the right lane. The left lane, he actually paid the price twice and made it close. And I think he was so irritated with how far left he got in that offline. Even when he doubled, he still was not very happy about it. So
yeah, and then he ended up – it was actually kind of weird because it seemed like the right lane in the middle of the lane had so much more push.
Yeah.
And then Prather appeared to be using, I think he was trying to use a smoother ball. So he had the Hustle Inc. on the right lane, which is quite angular. And then on the left lane, he was using the Hustle PBR, which is a lot earlier and a lot smoother. So I think he was just trying to blend it out. Because I actually, you should check it out. Rotogrip did a practice session with Kris just before he went down. And it was quite interesting listening to his thought process on stuff and how he sees the lane. And that really made it more like, I think someone like Sean wouldn't use a smoother ball there. He'd use a ball that would skid more to get through that part of the lane. But Kris was talking about it, and that made a lot more sense to me, how he likes when he sees that ball come out of it too hard and 4-pin or whatever, he wants to go to a much smoother ball and just get it to bleed off more. So, yeah, that's what he was doing. But eventually, I guess he abandoned that plan. Yeah, the PBR and the ink. Yeah, the PBR is it comes with, I think it's a 2,000 box finish, and it's a lot smoother than the ink.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's one of the nano covers. That's what it reminds me of what it looks like physically, and then how it rolls.
Yeah, I think that PBR is going to be a very useful ball on tour. I hope enough people in the greater world really like that ball, because as a player, I'm keen for that ball to stay in the line. And we actually saw it come out quite a bit the last couple of events. Simonson used it.
Yeah.
Going both directions. So it's good for lefties and righties. Yeah, somebody bringing up Pete on the show.
Well, yeah, hang on.
What have you got lined up for us, Kris?
Well, I've seen enough of this over the years. I went ahead and teed this one up too. So make sure I got the right one. That's not it.
You have to unshare that screen.
Yep. Let's try it again.
Nice, Adam. That one, I like that ball a lot.
You said it every single time. Good. That time with Mets fan? Didn't like it, but all 10 back.
I heard the laugh.
Or something.
God love Pete.
Not in my approach.
Being Pete. He literally picked somebody out of the crowd every single time to be mad at. And there's nobody in the crowd to be mad at. And he picked the CEO. That was Coley that laughed.
and she had no problem admitting it.
No, because that was me. She on Twitter she was like, "Yep, here that was, yeah, I did it." Pete was so loose at the beginning. I'm like, I have no idea what this would look like. If he's so really loose, it might be good. But at some point, this is going to get serious, and that's not what he does. Said he's been chasing nerves the same way for as long as I've seen him out there. So,
yeah, I mean, it was great, and the fact, and I was tweeting about it. I go, there goes Pete yelling at ghosts. And, Lucas Wiseman tweeted about it and said, "I don't know who that was in the crowd that Pete was yelling at." And then Coley put in the hand up emoji. So that was quite entertaining. A couple of people told her, "Welcome to the PBA tour. You've finally been initiated." You know, so that was that was very entertaining. Okay. Kris Forry is texting me right now. He was asking if we were going to have Prather on. We actually didn't ask Kris to come on because it was kind of late last night and we figured he'd be driving. And sure enough, he actually is driving. But if anybody wants to hear what Kris has to say about what went on, check out the Bone and Zano Zone tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. So there you go, Justin. I gave you a plug. He's coming on. Prather is coming on their show tonight. Oh, Packy, I'm glad we saw Prather get angry. We actually saw some emotion from Prather last night. I think it was just that he couldn't believe that he could throw it that badly on some of the shots.
Yeah, and Prather does have a little red ass in him, but it's an indication of how far he's come in a couple of years, where he was close to basically calling it good, and now there's some really high level expectations, which will, eventually that will be the struggle, is if he can manage those expectations changing from being the underdog going through to one of the favorites. Andy, I don't know what you were watching, but perhaps you being left-handed is part of this.
I think the point is it depends how you look at it, right? Because it looked like it moved more violently because it picked up so much earlier, whereas the PBR went long and then it came off the spot. So it just hooks more because that lane hooks more. But if you watch Prather the next game and you watch him with the ink, he's further left and he's opening the lane up because it skids and then it comes behind it. The layout on that PBR was also, I think it was probably close to like maybe a 3 3/4 inch pin. Prather is amazing. He uses like layouts like on the spectrum, like from 6 to like 3. And
yeah, that's just rotation a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm firmly in the 5 to 6. Like 5 is strong, 6 is weak. Like I occasionally use the odd. I've been Sean Ryan's been beating on me. I've been using the odd 4-inch pin when I've been going down, and I've actually been having a bit more success with that. I'd had a lot of trouble with how high my track is. I'd had a lot of trouble with hitting the fingers. Yeah, 4-inch pins have been used for that.
I think that's a good point you made, though. I guess the definition is spot. So Andy's talking about that spot being the mid lane, and I guess in general on tour, when people call it off the spot, they're talking about the one down lane where you actually see the change of direction, not where it picks up and starts to gain momentum, but where it actually changes course of direction significantly.
Here's Prather's friend, the king of the slap out, Packy Hanrahan. Nobody likes a slap out more than Packy. He's such a league bowler. I love it. Me and Packy, we embrace it.
Well, yeah, it goes hand in hand too. Packy has a lot more to be excited about when he finally doubles on tour.
Yeah, that's true. Paul Wolf says, did either of you notice Prather had no idea what he needed the 10th more than once? I did.
Yes.
It was very odd.
And it tells you something like different guys have way different philosophies on what they do. Like they watch the other guy bowl. Do they not watch it? Do they watch the scores? Do they not watch it? I'm thinking that Kris doesn't watch the scores a lot.
Even though there's an enormous monitor to the side of me.
I don't know how you don't see it in that situation, but.
And it's also pretty easy when the other guys miss twice and you've missed once.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to keep up with whether you've won or not.
Yeah, Ryan, I think you're absolutely not correct about that.
No. Coley took
it well. However, I agree. It could have gone south very quickly because if she was upset about it, he would have eliminated any chance. But she didn't mind at all.
Kris, you're not going to like this one.
Yeah. No, they actually teach it at Wichita.
It just didn't get that far through.
But yeah, we could talk about Weber math, but nobody from there has actually made the finals. So,
oh dear. Casey is quickly asking me, speaking of the PBR, how do you compare it to the MVP attitude? Good question. The PBR is less hook than the MVP attitude. I know that sounds like a really dumbed down answer, but the MVP attitude just covers more boards overall is how I kind of see it. I just think it's a stronger ball. I think that it fits kind of in between where it kind of fits where it's supposed to. It fits in between like the PBR and the idol. So not everybody's going to need that reaction. Some people are, some people aren't. So
this is actually a pretty good question because we haven't done this in a long time. I mean, it's been far enough back that I did it quite a bit once upon a time. That the earpiece they use for these are really generic, and so it's just kind of a squishy. You just push it in, and it kind of expands. It's like a piece of little rubber that's inflated, and so depending on your ear size, it just pops out pretty easily, and it'll work itself out really easy when you're moving around and doing stuff. Back when I was doing that, I was doing enough TV work that I actually had one molded, and so it fit in my ear. It sealed it tight, and so it would stay in. That's the only way I do it because the ones they were using, I'm sure haven't changed much, are really annoying and they pop out all the time. After about the second time it pops out of your ear in your third or fourth step,
you just like
I'm just taking that thing out because it feels like it's moving around all the time. And as the seal breaks, then you go from no sound to a lot of sound to, the ocean to nothing. It's really way more distracting than it's worth in between shots.
Yeah, I mean, Big Mike was actually tweeting about that, about as the world is how it is, we couldn't come up with a different solution for the players during the it was kind of, because I know that Bill had a lot of trouble with it, and I was actually, I don't know what I tweeted about it, but I was talking about it, and I was saying I just felt and they did it for the king, but I felt when they were doing that earpiece thing, I felt like they should have made all the players do it or not make any of them do it. I think it's kind of irritating that some of the players were able to be no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you the molds are only $40. If you're a high-end player and they're going to start doing this all the time, you just send one off. There's audio companies that make them, and they cost for what you're doing it for basically nothing, and then it's well worth the investment. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are easier to do now than that old method. No, I bowled West in the original one. The PBA had a live marathon, and I was in the very first match. I was the equivalent of Walter, I guess, back then, except just the opposite. It was a younger versus older match, and I beat Norm 260 to 250, and then even at Kegel, where they completely try to ramp them up so you cannot possibly leave anything, I managed to leave like 2 ring 10s and a half 7 against Wes, which is way not enough. So he shot 300 at me one time in that thing, and then he shot. I only shot like 220 in the other one, and he was averaging 250 or 260. So
here's a nice question. Ad says, why do the people have walkie-talkies? They're the wireless mic packs.
Yeah.
So that you can hear the players talking.
The good ones are about the size of a phone charger. The old ones are about the size of a. I mean, they feel like they're that big. They feel enormous, and they're heavy. I felt bad for Gigi last night because one of the things that is the hardest about TV shows the first time is all the extra stuff. Now, she's been on a few things, so it's not actually that new to her. But if you have the wrong mic packs, guys have belts and pockets, and they have places to put that stuff. And I'm sure in her skirt she did not, and she's tiny, so it's not going to be a super heavy material. So,
it seemed like the first part of his surgery, I guess.
Yes,
went pretty well. So he was posting messages to people on Facebook. So thankfully, it seems like it's gone well so far.
Yeah, he's been watching the shows on the FS1 app, and things are going as well. Obviously, we wish him the best. I'm going to give a shout out to our guy because it's been a tough going, but things are looking up. Everybody's positive, and I think the bowling world's throwing a lot of positive at him. So,
a couple of quick ones here. Adam says, I'm 15 and I have 4 300s. Do you think that's good? Well, that's 4 more than I had.
Yeah, I was 2 years away from my first one at that point.
So yeah, congratulations. Keep up the good work.
No, they have a mic button, so that's off most of the time. When they may occasionally make a mistake, but in generally there's a feed. And you're talking from the booth to the truck, and the truck opens up that line, and then they talk to them. It does sound funny because the technology is good enough you can't tell the difference on TV and sound when they're talking to them versus not. But yeah, they can't hear them the rest of the time.
And it's actually there's a couple of times where Randy starts talking, and the guys in the truck didn't know Randy was going to do it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, the players are just like, they can almost hear Randy because he speaks so loud in the booth.
Yeah, especially with nobody in there.
Yeah.
Randy has a voice that carries very well anyway. And so, it's, I think the interviews are pretty cool. I think, I think that's an interesting piece of what people are thinking, kind of how they think about it.
Someone says, any insights as to why they didn't add the 300 game payout to this series? Because they haven't done that for special events. It's never been part of special events, in my experience. And they were playing on 11-1. So they were really supposed to bowl 300.
I believe that Wes's did not count as televised 300s when they were televised 300s. So,
although they talk about it like it was, even it's very odd because they say Wes shot 2 300s while kicking the legs on TV. Then the next graphic says Sean Rash, first person to shoot 2 300s on TV. It's like,
we can't just, depending on whether there was somebody who wrote for a living in charge at the time, whether you needed headlines or not, and whether it counts or not. Yeah, Schaefer actually has 2 300s on TV. I consider myself to have 2 300s on TV. Wes has 2 300s on TV. So, yeah.
Yeah. But Sean has 2 real 300s on TV.
Real ones.
I think
mine wasn't in the PTQ. Mine was actually in a step ladder.
Yeah.
Not where I had 4 games to line up. But my old youth teammate, he was there.
So, Josh, coming at me again, since you know most of everything, they did actually say on the broadcast, if you watched it, that they, I don't know about the tiara, but they did say that they would be the queen of the lanes. They said king or queen when Clara was playing for it.
Yeah, my guess is because Kimberly had one on in the that would have became it. So
that would have become the jewelry.
Yes. For those of you not in the know, can you explain your board, Stu?
Yeah, You'll Never Walk Alone, Liverpool. They finally got to lift the trophy. Danny is a proper Liverpool lad. All right there, mate. Yeah, so after 30 years, a bit like you with your Kansas City Chiefs, I got to see them win again. The last time I was obviously 9.
Good year for the Beef and Barnzy show.
Yes, sir. Just as the Patriots are just slightly going off the bottom of the down the curve. Hello, King Cam is here. We're saved. Everything's going to be okay. Woo! As long as I can still tease Kimberly Pressler and Dougie, we just needed a quarterback who was serviceable for the Bills to choke against the Patriots. Yeah. Oh, look, somebody's been watching your Facebook page, Kris. Adam says, congratulations on making the 7-10.
Yeah, that was in league, and that unfortunately was the third one I left that night. This is the place I practice at because my ball does that here a lot. I want to get ready for tour. I can bowl in the house shot in this place, and my touch gets really good because they change about every 3 shots, and my ball goes through like it weighs 12. I can't even imagine throwing lighter weight balls in that place. So,
I mean,
a chance to have Ronnie Horton on.
So, the Ronnie Horton,
huh?
The Ronnie Horton.
Horton gives a who. There you
go. I actually made a very bad joke with.
He's Ronnie. In there, only 1 for 3.
I love Ronnie. Ronnie's one of my favorite people. He's brilliant. Let me for the people who haven't had unlimited access to Kris's page. Here we go.
Go! Let's go! Let's go!
Oh dear.
Video credits to Sean Lavery, who I was subbing with his team on Monday nights. Ryan was on the pair next to me, so but there you go.
My man, Jimmy.
My man. How about the stats he's been compiling? Holy.
Yeah, Jim's been kicking a guy while he's down.
I don't think that's the point of it, but yeah, I don't know that we got a lot of uplifting data. We got a little realism, and there's no denying where the holes are.
We've got the great and the good, Lucas Wiseman. Those legs are whiter than the ghost Pete's ears.
Yeah, where's music? AAA JJJJ's a doubles partner. Maybe you guys can have a little conversation. So,
oh dear, yeah.
The third guy, Mike and I bowled on juniors together, and the third guy on our team was Brad Jenkins, and he played basketball, and he was a lot bigger than I was. He ended up being about 6'6" and slightly heavier. Well, his son is now an offensive tackle for Oklahoma State, and so. Yeah, I actually think he is going to be a first-round draft pick. He's the best tackle in the Big 12, and on offensive-heavy teams, offensive tackles that can block are they have a pretty good shelf life. So, yeah, Brad and I used to go bowl, and he would be Mark Roth because he was bigger, and I was Marshall Holman, and so that was kind of how we figured it out.
Here's Josh again. Stu is happy it didn't hit the sweep and come back and knock the 7 over. It was a real spare. You don't even need to put real, Josh. Just it was a spare. That is in reference to John Webber not really understanding the rules of the game and awarding Jacob a spare at the Webber Cup when the pin clunked the sweep. It wasn't that it clunked the sweep. It was the sweep moved back and knocked the pin.
Yeah,
So,
once the sweep moves, that's a problem.
Whatever. I'd already beaten by 40. So
Yeah, Trey. Actually, I did. I made it last year, and CJ actually filmed it. So I actually evidently I leave a lot of flat 710s. That's what I'm learning out of this right now. So,
Jim, why are you pile driving Stu? Well, he came at me last night on Twitter as well when I said that Kyle needed to get out of the IQ Emerald. I was right as well.
And we all know there's nothing we like less than that, is you being right and being able to tell us you're right. So,
and by the looks of it, it looked like Kyle disobeyed one of his ball reps, because when he changed to that ball, he threw it and he looked dead over the other side and was like, my bad.
He threw the ball. Yeah, I mean, when you're bowling on stuff that's a little higher scoring, sometimes you just throw the ball that you want to throw versus the one maybe that might be a little better.
I think the other part of it that's really odd for guys is like we bowl so often where once you get a ball that kind of controls the pocket, especially on TV, and especially if you're a two-hander where you kind of your pocket's pretty big. I guess Kyle's like is pretty happy, you know, when he can control the pocket, because he's figuring like if I hit the pocket 10 times, I'm almost certainly going to strike 8 times. But you know, for us house hacks that bowl league, your eyes just adjust to it, and you can see what's going to be a chance of shooting 800 and what's a solid 725. And he had a solid 715 reaction. And when he changed that axiom, it looked like he had close to an 800 reaction. Sean sees it the best.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean's fantastic. Like when the scores are high like that, Sean really, he sees it really quickly. He knows exactly what he wants to see through the pins. And yeah, and that's why, I mean, on those King of the Lane shows, I mean, he lost to Prather, but overall, I mean, his scores were enormous. Like 260, 250, 290, 289. Like, yeah, Sean's really good at seeing that reaction and playing it. And it's just a skill set. I mean, EJ and Simonson, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I would just have a question here more than anything. Does Lucas really want to get into physical attributes? Is that what he's after? Check. All right. The fact that he outkicked his coverage, he probably ought to just stay in his lane a little bit. So,
I mean, there's a lot of jokes that I can use that seem unfair, and I'm not going to do it.
Fairness is our gold standard, right?
Yeah. Yes, I've thrown the parallax. It's sorry, just a slight change of programming. It only took 10 minutes to clap back.
I didn't realize you were even talking about me, Luke. Just when you talk, I literally just skim right over it, just like when you write real journalism.
So anyway, yeah, have I thrown the parallax? Yeah. I see it as a little earlier than the nuclear cell and smoother. So that's kind of how I see it. It seems to be pretty versatile with the surface changes as well. As it was my first one, and I was been playing around with it, trying to figure out how I want to use it best. So I've used it shiny, and then I hit it with 500, and I could still get it down the lane and use it. So yeah, it's definitely a different reaction than I've had, and like I say, I think it's strong. It's earlier than the nuclear cell, but and a more smooth, rounded motion.
So this is going to be directed at you, because I don't shoot 800 in league. I don't bowl enough league. So what's the score?
No, 8.25 minimum, Packy.
And the answer is no. I have not left one there. I left it in the World 10th and Masters, however.
Yeah, it was on the one lane though. But yeah. Just quickly getting to Packy in Phoenix, if you don't shoot 850, there isn't even a round of applause.
My wife coming in, Lucas he used to come over every once in a while, and Best cannonball ever, Lucas Wiseman in our pool. We did have to refill it after, but best splash of all time. We never duplicated, never repeated.
It really depends on what balls you've got. Like that's a little bit like we have a phrase in England, how long's a piece of string? Well, it depends where you cut it. It really depends on how you bowl, what balls you've got right now. I mean, I don't know is the answer. I mean, I think
they're both very good, but they fit different slots.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're probably most people are going to find the IQ, they're going to have more times they can use it because those kind of symmetrical, smooth balls, you can use them on most every pattern. So that would be what I'd say.
The IQ Tour, you would say, is a benchmark ball, and the Parallax fits as a bigger.
Yeah, it's more angular as well. Like the new IQ Tour is like a stronger IQ Tour because it's got nano cover on it. So here's my man Lonnie. 800 is almost what Stu averages at Lakeview. Yeah, well, 760 ish.
The best ball to use on a U.S. Open pattern, number 145 feet. Your spare ball, you'll use it a lot.
My man Frankie would say the Shorelock put a serious beating on that pattern in where was it that we bowled? North Carolina when he won. Nobody told him it wasn't the easy pattern, so he still averaged like 247.
Yeah, you're going to use some surface, but it's got to be pretty smooth. I mean, because there's really no room. It's just long, so it doesn't get easy per se. Although, like you said, Frankie didn't have any trouble.
My brother from a different mother here, yeah, was thinking the same. 830 plus is impressive. Don't even notice anything under that. My man Packy, me and Packy are literally the only two pros, I think, who actually quite enjoy bowling league and embrace the fact that we enjoy bowling league. Like,
yeah, have fun with it. This is actually an interesting question. I've heard there's some tour guys say there's no substitute for what you see on tour, rev rate transition, whichever. So you say if someone's wanting to try the tour out, should they just go for it, both feet in, or try regionals out first to get used to the patterns and formats and whatnot? I think regionals is a better step, although the patterns are a little easier, but the rev rates locally, really everywhere, have picked up enough to create some of that same thing. That's one of the reasons why our Tuesday pot games happen, because I just found as much rev rate as I could find in the area, and we all show up, and then you have to, even it doesn't matter if the scores are high or low, the transition thing happens way closer to what we normally see. So find as many high rev rate guys as you can, and that's the other way around it, is just tear up the lanes and let them play wherever they play. But that's all I got there. Kevin Denny from Oklahoma. Yep. Wesley couldn't get applause for 900. If you're left-handed, it isn't, it almost doesn't count. So
he was an out-of-towner as well.
He came in. Well, he didn't exactly steal their money since he finished 8th, but
it ended up being 9th. Yeah, 9th. Yeah.
I have thrown the Honey Badger Revival, and if so, how does it compare to the other Honey Badgers? If you're throwing 15, it's going to be a little stronger. Core-wise, the RGs are going to be a little lower, slightly more asymmetrical, but it's a shiny ball that really picks up in the mid and turns the corner. A little less angular, but not very much. And the trade-off for how much stronger it reads in the mid lane in 15s, I think, is well worth the price of admission there. In 16s, it's a little bit earlier than the white ball. It's probably a little less than the white ball, the white hot.
So let's go clapping at you here. I love it. And you let the lowest rev rate win the first game.
Shot maker, brother.
Love me some Keith. Keith is one of the joys that I've learned since moving to Texas. I love Let's Go.
Absolutely. Well, Keith and I are the two lowest rev rates. And we do seem to walk out there with more money than we come in with most of the time. Not always about rev rate, but
I like have a little bit of a running joke with Keith over. So I had the first FU at 9:13. Did I win? Because Keith has no problem with getting pissed off about stuff. Oh, sorry. Were you pulling up Peter Griffin?
Yes, I was. Yeah. Well, the greatest and the most humbling, for sure.
I wrote what he wrote the first time, and I thought to myself, I guess English isn't what you learn out on tour, because this was what he wrote the first time.
Yeah, I thought maybe he was having a stroke. Because if I read it out loud, you were going to have to call the paramedics. Charlie Cat, by the way, multi-time PBA titleist and one of the greats, another good storyteller from the day.
William Gannam says, shoot, you're considered a pro if you shoot 700 in the Austin area. Not at Highland Lanes, I can tell you that. Monday night, I bowled, I think I bowled 785 and I was 7th. So, no, not at Highland. They had a few strikes on a Monday night at Highland. Here's a question that one of the balls that we don't see very often, Kris.
Tony. Yeah. That's why I invited Keith, because he chairs the lane up. No, I wanted somebody to the right of me. That's all. What do you think about the Eagle, and what pattern would you use it on? That is a giant core, and it's shiny as well. So basically what you're looking at, it's going to be good. Like around here, the house shots hook quite a bit. And so when you have some hook in the front of the lane, but you need to even out the pattern, or there's oil down lane, either one, that's where any speed dominant player is going to like this ball. And so I would say that's probably what it's best for is players that are speed dominant. And when you want to even out the cliff down lane, but still need to get through the front.
I love you, Lesko. You're the best.
917. Explain.
Well, I said my bet on his first FU is 913. He said 917.
See, not everybody knew what that story was. So
no, we were just talking about it previously. That's what I said. That's one of my favorite things with Lesko. You should go full Fu Manchu on the mustache. Yeah, Pete was bringing the mustache out. Walters brought the mustache back.
Keith in a landslide. That's not.
Oh my God.
No.
Pete might struggle to get to Keith's in by the 6th frame.
Yeah, this is Tourette. I think there's a lot of people that get that on tour. That's kind of comes with the territory out there.
So, sorry.
Right.
Adam is asking me, I have a Crux Prime, fused, Halo Solid, Idle Pearl, Winner Pearl, and a Fever Pitch. What would be good replacement for the Winner Pearl and the Hypercell fused? So the Winner Pearl, I found to be quite strong. I would think that you would want, you could use in that gap, a High Road Pearl would work, but I think that the Hustle wrap would give you a bit more of a lower end ball to be further down. You said Prime, Fused, and Halo Solid. You want something to replace the Fused. I mean, Astrophysics maybe would probably be the closest thing we've got to a Fused right now. Parallax, I think, would be probably be a little close to the Prime and the Halo Solid. It'd leave a huge gap to the Idle Pearl. So I would consider that, or depending, yeah, that either that or go a different route and go for something like a Phase 2. That would be what I would have. Do I still have the Storm Pro Motion? I actually still have it. I haven't thrown it very much recently. I think I used up all my strikes with that one at the PBA League. It was the daddy right there.
You were talking about Prather a little bit earlier. Thought we might throw this one in. He's bowling Sean You talked about Sean actually seeing the motion well. He blends that out pretty good.
That had a little filth to it.
But I guess I don't have it queued up quite right. You see him messing around with that earpiece again.
On the lanes, and what's the biggest difference between right and left lane?
Well, they did a pretty good job of breaking the middle of the lane down on the left lane. So it's, typical hooks a lot more in the middle lane. So I got to use some angle. I'm about 5 or 6 ports difference with my feet, a couple of my eyes. Just focusing on myself.
If we watch Prather here, he's about to go, oh, God, I struck again.
Oh, God, did it again. And
oh, no, weird. I struck again, and I'm disappointed by it.
I love this comment, though.
Through 3. I will eventually throw a good shot, America.
I love that one.
Oh, dear. Prather's a treat, isn't he? Oh, I mean, there's so many. I mean, Chris Collins is in a Chris Collins might be as far ahead as second as Belmo is for bowling, period.
Yeah, Peter Griffin might be able to chip in from the previous generation because we barely overlapped a little bit. But
Bob Benoit?
Bob Benoit, Odrobanak, I guess, knocked himself out at one point. Benoit took his PBA 300 ring and he used to whack himself in the forehead and he hit it with his ring and put a welt and made it bleed. So it was, Rick is by far the more sane of the three brothers, actually. But
Rick tells a story of how he attacked his green nuke with a bevel knife for the entire game through the bag, and he was just stabbing it. And by the end, there was just like shards of green.
There was just lime green stuff everywhere. It was great. So, there's a few guys that really.
Now, here is a next level question.
Wow. Well, it's tough to do a side-by-side, but this go with as long as the air conditioning works, not as much. There are tendencies, though, coast to coast in how people tend to oil the lanes. I would say that. You have older surfaces on the East Coast, newer ones in the West, more cliff out in California area as far as like really top hatted, and in the East Coast they tend to hook in the front with a little more oil down lane.
I just think that it's actually more the biggest thing is to for me anyway is how old the bowling centers are is the biggest deal. So like somewhere like Phoenix, like the bowling centers just in general in Phoenix are way newer than they are in Texas, and there's way more bowling in Texas. So like for me, us moving from Phoenix to Texas, if I was just talking about just like bowling league, for example, because I think that's what's relative to most people, the lanes hook way more here than they do in Phoenix. And the things that I would do to be successful in league in Phoenix have no chance of working here because the balls just burn up so much. So a lot of the time I could use like the high end asymmetrical balls because I needed to smooth out because there was so much oil in the middle of the lane. Over here, that's never going to be the case. The balls just burn up too much and then you can't get it to go through the pins. So I think that state by state is just different. I do think that your brain would tell you that when it's hotter, the lanes would be drier, or my brain does anyway, just because that's how you would associate the climate, I guess. But it does seem like when it's hotter that the oil becomes more liquidy, I guess, less thick. And then it does seem to be like down the lane, they get more squirrely. So.
Well, guys, the best fans of bowling coming through with some stories now. So Peter Griffin, Lenny Guccione tried to eat an ashtray. And that's back far enough where that might have been metal. That might not have just been a plastic one. Chris Collins frying out in North Carolina, throwing a ball through the knee-fan window. Solid. We have an alleged here. I'm not sure that one happened. Craig Kisrow, yeah, he with a couple of them. Bob Glass, one of the all-time nicest guys, the professor, and but he was also tall enough to actually probably put a dent in his roof by just going like that.
Zeke.
I love Zeke.
You literally asked us a question of how long was your piece of string?
He did, and we answered it. We took the bait, both of us.
So okay, well, I think we can probably leave it there. 50 minutes of me and Kris going back and forth. I guess we could finish it with one more video from last night. Here we go. So yeah, Pete brought it on the show last night. I enjoyed it. He looked like he had a good time, which is, I'll be honest, in the last 3 or 4 years, there hasn't been many times that that Pete has been very entertaining. Like he hasn't looked like he's been enjoying himself.
No, not at all. He looked healthy last night. His ball speed was back up, and I think that has a lot to do with it. When you don't feel like you can do what you want to do, the frustration.
Yeah, like I say, it was just nice to see him smiling and being engaging, and like, you know, and the fact that he managed to have a scream at Coley in the middle of the game was just like, that's just Pete. That was good, but not being like.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Greg Thompson. Hope you're feeling better, my man. I didn't realize he was in the hospital. So
I think he has COVID.
Really?
I believe so.
All right.
Well, okay. Well, we will be back on Tuesday. We may or Kris is bowling this weekend. He's got his favorite doubles partner.
I got my one fan.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, yeah, that is day to day, especially as much as we've been around each other now, and I'm coaching him. So I'm bowling my son. He's we're going to bowl well, I thought it was a handicap doubles tournament, and now it's turned into it's handicapped off of 440, and it's only 80%, and it doesn't pay enough, but there's little enough to bowl that some teams that shouldn't be bowling together are bowling together. So, yeah. So. No, you're right. You're right. And I still stand by my comment. So, yeah. So, yeah, we got some touring teams that are going to be playing this weekend, and Ryan and I are going to bowl that, and then we're going to bowl the city tournament, which they're going to do with one team on a pair, I believe, and they're spreading some guys out pretty
okay.
good. Yeah.
Well, I was supposed to be bowling that tournament when it was a scratch, $3,000 or $4,000 for first tournament, but once it became what it became, I didn't think it was appropriate, so I'm not bowling. I may be bowling on Sunday. I don't know whether they've decided to put the last nail.
I think they decided to run with that one. So
they did. Well, maybe Anthony needs to text me to let me know that I need to drive up to Dallas.
Yeah, if you would, anybody that has Anthony Lavery's number, just text him for all tournament information. I'm sure he would appreciate that.
I honestly think I'd pay Anthony $5 a month to run a calendar service.
Sure. Here's an idea for all those guys on the Southwest Bowler site. How about just pinning a schedule to the top of it instead of trying to scroll through 142 messages to find the tournament that you posted 3 weeks ago?
So we'll we'll try and get some stuff up over the weekend. I'm trying to be more aggressive with updating the YouTube page, so please go over and check that out. We have a banner for it right there. It's Beef and Barnzy. I've looked at the ad thing a little bit. I'm trying to figure out the situation. So if you have some issues with the ads, please know that you're trying to feed our children. And that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, and for those bowling fans that are truly bowling fans, you'll remember Dave Lamont. He has started up a couple of versions of a podcast, but Nooner with Dave, I believe, is one of them. And the other one is the Daily Dave or something like that. He's doing that on a earlier basis. The ones that obviously at noon East Coast time, Florida time, and he's all over the place, but it's very professional sounding and covers baseball, bowling. He covers kind of everything, and depending on who's there, he adapts to whoever's in the chat with him. So I've given him a few times, and I like it. It's nice to hear somebody else's voice out there.
It's if you just search for Dave Lamont on Facebook, he maybe we need to get with him to sort out a proper page, because he's doing it on his personal page at the minute, and that makes it a little harder to share and privacy issues. So
it does. So
maybe we'll reach out to him and try and help him out with that a little bit.
Yeah, we may even have him on for a little spot here at some point. He could talk with us. But in any event, I think that's all for us. You got anything?
No. Stay safe. Hopefully you're out on the lanes. Keep an eye out for all of our content on Facebook. Me and Kris are trying our best to get as much content out. I might even go live this afternoon if I can hit the head pin on consecutive shots. We're just, like I say, we're just trying to get some stuff out there that can entertain people. If you've got any ideas of stuff that you want to see from our lives, let us know.
We're going to try and get together a little bit more here in the upcoming weeks and then later on months. So if content you want to see, get it together. We'll make it happen.
All right. Take it easy, and we'll see you Tuesday.
Yep. There you go. Stay safe, stay healthy. Sports ball businesses, especially bowling. And God bless.